Kia ora Year 9. Here are 4 more questions from the harder worksheet on the highest common factor and lowest common multiple. I'm going to try and go quite quickly with these ones because the method I'm going to use is the Venn diagram one again, although some of you will be starting to see some shortcuts to that. So let's look at C1. Notice that we're given 2 numbers, but we're given them in the form that we want, which is the prime factorization version. So C1, number A is equal to 2 cubed times 3 times 5 squared, and B is equal to 2 squared times 3. So if we want to find the highest common factor, we're looking for the product of the prime factors, which are in both of those numbers. So you'll be able to see, some of you, by just looking at it in that order, that we're going to have 2 squared sitting in the middle of the Venn diagram in the intersection, and we're going to have a 3. So my highest common factor here will be 2 squared times 3, which is 12. I'm going to do this with a Venn diagram in a minute, but some of you just won't be needing it anymore. The lowest common multiple is where I put in once each of the prime factors that is in A or B. So the lowest common multiple will be, looking at the 2's, 2 cubed, and then I have to times in the 3, because there's a 3, and then in A there's also 5 squared. So that's going to be the lowest common multiple. That gives me 24 times 25, which is 600. Now if that was too fast, I'm going to go slowly now through showing you the Venn diagram. You know that in your books, your Venn diagrams are going to look beautiful, right? They're going to have nice ruled lines. Use your student ID or your snapper card. So let's see, we've got A here, and we've got B here. We've got 2 and 2 and 3 sitting in the intersection. Okay, so the 2 and the 2 are coming from here. This is 2 times 2. This is 2 times 2 times 2. So the in common part is 2 times 2. And here we've got a 3 here and a 3 here. Now we can plonk in the other stuff. A has also got a 5 and a 5, and B has got nothing else. So when we times the numbers together to get the HCF, you'll see that we get 12, 2 times 2 times 3, right? So remember, the highest common factor is this bit that I'm drawing on here, the intersection. And the lowest common multiple is where I take all of the prime factors but once only. But here, there isn't anything in B, so I'm just multiplying all of these ones here together. So that's the first one done. So let's look at C2. It's exactly the same kind of question. We don't have to find the numbers, we just have to find the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple. So let's do that one now. We've got M. What's M? Well, M is equal to 2 to the power of 4 times 3 squared times 7, and N is equal to 2 squared times 3 squared times 5. So the highest common factor can be read off, and it will equal 2 squared. So look at the 2's first and find the highest overlap. 2 squared times 3 squared. These are the same. And then the 5 and the 7 are not overlapping. So that gives me 4 times 9, which is 36. Now let's look at the LCM. This is where I want to put each prime factor in, but once only. Okay, so the lowest common multiple is going to come from looking at what's the biggest of those two. Well, it's going to be 2 to the power of 4. Then I'm going to have 2 lots of 3 in there, so a 3 times another 3. And I also have to multiply in my 5 and my 7. So if I multiply all those together, I get 16 times 9 times 5 times 7. Now that works out to be, let's see, well, there are some different ways we could do that one. But to keep the video going, I'm actually just going to go straight to that answer. But you can use some different strategies to multiply those. So it's equal to 35 times 16 times 9 would be the first step. Okay, so we get 5,040. So if you want to do the Venn diagram there, you can. Right, there's M, and there's N, and you'll have 2, 2, 3, 3 here. N's going to have, well, N's going to have a 5, and M's going to have 2 more 2's and a 7. Right, on to part C, C3. big numbers now. We have to find the lowest common multiple and the highest common factor of these two numbers. But we're given them in index form, so we don't have to do the factor tree work ourselves. It speeds us up a bit. So 2520 is equal to 2 cubed times 3 squared times 5 times 7. 3024 is equal to 2 to the power of 4 times 3 cubed times 7. So the highest common factor of those two numbers will be 2 cubed times 3 squared times 7. Right, so I'm doing my line up by each factor in turn. That gives me 8 times 9 times 7. And the lowest common multiple, we'll come back and work out what these numbers are. The lowest common multiple of those two numbers will be 2 to the power of 4 times 3 to the power of 3 times 5 times 7. So that's 16 times 27 times 35. Right, now the first one, this one, is going to be 72 sevenths. So what does that give me? 14,504. What about the next one? Now that's just been left over from something else. We'll get rid of that. So let's do some multiplication strategies on this. What's 16 times 27 times 35? Well, they're all quite painful numbers. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do long multiplication. So 27 times 16, what does that give me? I've got 42, 6 2s are 12, plus 4, 16. And I get 27 here. So 2, 3, and 4, 432. And then I need to do 432 times 35. So we're going to get a really big number. 5 2s are 10, 16, 21, 3 2s are 6, 3 3s are 9. I think that's right. I'm sure one of you is going to leave me a comment if it's not. There's 2, 11, 5. So I think the LCM should be 15,120. Okay, and the highest common factor is 504. Now let's take a look at that last question. It's exactly the same idea, except we're dealing with really big numbers. So I'm not going to do that one in this video because it's got to 8 minutes already. It's the same thing. You can either use the Venn diagram method or you can use the just picking the factors off by lining them up. I will do the highest common factor. So the highest common factor will be 2 squared times 3 cubed times 5, and that's it, because the 11's in here and the 7's in here. So the highest common factor is going to be 4 times 27 times 5, which is 20 times 27, which equals 540. But I just haven't worked out what the LCM is, so I'm going to leave that one for you to do. Thanks for watching. I'll come back later on and we'll do row D, which is by far the most challenging in the worksheet.